So our first segment is everybody hates Darth Maul. Because this is the incredible thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you said that he dies somewhere, I'm guessing in Rebels.
Yeah, he does.
But, like, he died once before. Like, he's gonna come back. But, like, I love this. Like I was saying about, like, he just stole Boba Fett's spot. He's this weird one-off, like, edgelord, like, late 90s villain here. Just kind of, this is a weird tack on to this franchise that we're not going to talk about again. He kind of feels like the return of Superman suits, or like Cyborg Superman or something. It's just like, we're not really going to talk about this again. And then he just turns out to be actually the most prolific villain who has the most beefs in the entire franchise. Like, technically speaking, like, everybody that Darth Vader killed has a family that doesn't like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, significant people, of, like, how you get around and, like, start beefs with somebody, like,
yeah, it's...
like, Darth Maul is the Conor McGregor of Star Wars. Minus the sexual assault allegations, but...
Yeah.
So, like, give me a rundown of, like, who has, like, a legitimate beef with Darth Maul. So, Anakin Skywalker to start with. So, like, Darth Vader himself.
Yeah.
Like, Darth Maul is an antagonist to Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Like, nobody else, like, just, is there anybody else that can claim being, like, a major antagonist of Darth Vader the way that Darth Maul is? Like, he killed his fucking mentor.
Yeah, no, can't think of it, no. And, like...
That's already a power move, right?
Yeah.
The fact that he came back from the dead immediately meant that he was, like, in the pantheon. Because, like, if the beef got squashed when he died the first time, that would be one thing. And you're like, okay, yeah, this guy did something fucked up to Vader, but it's like, no. This is a beef now.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, so Anakin I think Anakin shares that beef with Obi-Wan. Because Obi-Wan
Right.
is not Vader. I mean, yes, Vader is his main beef. But Maul's main beef is with Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan is the one who sliced him in half.
Right.
And his...
Oh, right, that wasn't Anakin.
Yeah, because Anakin
because he was still a fucking child in that
Anakin was 10. But, like,
right,
he does that thing where he's like,
Right.
where your best friend has beef with somebody else, and so, like, you kind of share that beef with them. So, like, so Anakin...
It's like me and Ryan's.
Exactly!
Your beefs are my beefs. It's hip-hop. We get it.
Yeah. So, like, okay, so Obi-Wan's his main beef, because of the whole slicing in half thing. And it's also kind of a weird homoerotic beef, if we're going to be totally 100. I can't say, like, yeah.
Search for Twitter user Cranity if you want to go down that well. She's mostly just, like, an amazing fucking, like, Darth Maul Venom fan. So, like, that kind of tells you, like, who she... Actually, I don't know. I can't remember their pronouns. Sorry. I apologize for that. I cannot remember Cranity's pronouns. But I actually think it's more likely to be they. But that particular artist is, like, a Darth Maul super fan and also, like, a huge Venom fan. So in their art owns, but they do bring out that, like, homoerotic. I'm thinking the right person. I think I'm thinking the right Twitter handle. But they do awesome Darth Maul art, and they like super bring out the, like, homoerotic Obi-Wan beef. So, like, check them out if I'm thinking the right person.
Okay. But yeah, it's totally them. It's just like that Kate Beaton strip about, like, the nemesis, and, like, I keep his picture by my bed every night. Like, that is Obi-Wan and Maul.
Cape Fear.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And they're both Robert De Niro.
Yes.
That's what I want to shoot. Is just this montage of both of them doing this setups.
Right. The thing is, most of my context of Cape Fear is through that Simpsons episode, so...
I mean, I've never seen the movie.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, the other half of my context for Cape Fear is Bray Wyatt.
Sure. Okay.
Because he pulls from Cape Fear all the time. That's a huge reference point.
Yeah. Okay, so Obi-Wan, Anakin... Ahsoka then also shares in the beef, but that also gets more deep with the whole and with the Siege of Mandalore and all that. Half of Death Watch.
Mandalorians.
Yeah.
So that this is what I'm fucking telling you. He's gonna be in season 2,
or at least mention.
Everyone's gonna be like, that motherfucker.
How is he still alive? Like, we thought Obi-Wan stabbed him in the desert.
It's like that cat that looks like it's the bird.
Yeah.
That just looks like it's hovering and it's powered entirely by hate.
Yeah.
It's just Darth Maul. He can't be killed because he's just kept alive by the need to beef with everyone.
Right. Because it's like, if the Death Watch beef starts because he killed Vizsla in combat, and like half of Death Watch fucks off because they don't want to be ruled by a non-Mandalorian, and then Darth Maul kills Bo-Katan's sister. So like,
sorry, he tries to rule the Mandalorians.
Yes.
That's right. I knew that.
Yeah.
No, he's gonna be actually Darth Maul is gonna be in the Mandalorian season 2, season 3. He's like, I'm sorry, he's gonna be in it. I'm not setting the parameters. I'm just gonna tell you that he's gonna be in it because there's so many ways that it could happen.
Right.
There could be a flashback. There could be all that stuff. I want to see him like present somehow, still alive, and they're just like, you again. Like
whatever, like the Star Wars version of a Revenant is that's somehow gonna be Maul.
Well, that's a Force ghost, really, but no, he's like a Futurama. Head in a bucket.
Yeah.
Head in a bucket.
Oh, yeah.
But also like his own people, right?
Yeah,
most of his own species.
Right.
The ones that like survived, because there was some like gnarly genocide, was there not?
Yes, there was I know that I don't remember what happened to the Knight brothers, but the Knight sisters basically got murked by Dooku.
Because, okay, let me back up a second here, because I found out something amazing when I started reading up on Asajj Ventress, because that's when I really started to see more about what Darth Maul was, because this was after I had seen Solo, and I kind of understood that he was, like, a bigger player.
Right.
Because, like, number one, like, their whole deal, they just aesthetically look, and their home planet looks like Mortal Kombat. Like, you kind of want to say that Darth Maul is like a Mortal Kombat character that got like added as a DLC character into Star Wars.
Oh my god, yeah.
But that's only half of the story, and that's not the funny half.
Right.
Because and obviously Phantom Menace had no idea what they were doing with that species yet. Mm-hmm. Which is actually hilarious because of like how Star Wars has no plan for any species ever. Because the reason that they call the Yoda baby the child is because they never named the species that Yoda belongs to. He's a fundamental character in this entire franchise. He's one of the most prolifically appearing characters in all media. When you add up the cartoons and shit, like Yoda is in the backbone, and you see more than one member of his species, but they never took the time to name them. And because they never took the time to name them, in the movies, they just decided in The Mandalorian that nobody knows the name of the species.
Right.
And I mean, we've only ever seen 2 of them before the child, to be fair.
Yeah, Yoda.
But we've seen a male and a female.
Right.
And but it's also part of this weird mass amnesia that somehow everybody, within 20 years, everybody forgot the Jedi existed. Right. And that was the biggest problem with the prequel ones, because they ended with order whatever 66 or whatever.
Yeah, 66.
Yeah, with the Jedi all being exterminated at the same time that Luke was born. So somehow by the time he became 20, everybody fucking forgot Jedi existed when they were some of the most powerful people in the fucking galaxy. How does that happen? Is this some force trick that Darth Vader pulled on the whole galaxy? Nobody knows. So it's this giant gaping continuity hole that has never been addressed and never can be addressed.
Right.
It's one of the weirdest we just don't talk about it things in all of science fiction.
Yeah.
And then they just double down by being nobody knows what Yoda is.
Yeah, there's just baby.
which I fucking love. So, like, with Darth Maul, they go the opposite route, and we know everything about what a Darth Maul is. So, like, he looks like a Mortal Kombat character. His homeworld looks like a Mortal Kombat stage. Like, the glowing greens and the reds and everything.
Yeah.
It looks like they just called Ed Boon and was like, hey, do you have some, like, extra shit we can borrow? And he's like, yeah, of course. I've been drawing dumb edgelord shit since the 80s.
Right.
I mean, no offense to Ed Boon, but it's an aesthetic, and you know a lot about Mortal Kombat now, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the other side to this is like, Darth Maul is a space drow. They just plagiarized this entire species from R.A. Salvatore in Forgotten Realms. Darth Maul is just a meaner version of Drizzt Do'Urden.
Oh my god.
He just doesn't have a cat. That's the only difference between them. And, like, because they both beef with their entire species. But, like, Drizzt beefs with his entire species because he's, like, the good one.
Right.
He isn't into, like, slavery and stuff. But, like, Darth Maul beefs with him because he's the most opportunistic, backstabbing motherfucker the galaxy has ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
Jabba the Hutt and Han Solo are both jealous of
Yeah.
Darth Maul. Actually, there's a lot of reasons why, like, Han Solo is jealous of Darth Maul, but we'll get into that in a second. But, like, yeah, so he turns on his entire species, but the whole thing is they're like a matriarchy.
Right.
And, like, the males are typically suppressed relative to the females. So you can kind of understand why, like, the level of resentment that he has at, like, the gender dynamics of his species might have led to him to be, like, extremely troubled.
Right.
But, like, that's why Asajj Ventress, when you read into, like, what this species is, you're like, oh, she fucking owns.
Yeah.
And then you can see why they're, like, these two are, like, headed for trouble. And it's, like, she's the one that gets, like, a weird redemption arc. And, like, her entire species ends up, like, ghosts, like, Force witches, like, ghosts of Force witches haunting a planet.
Yeah.
And Darth Maul just keeps being a shithead.
Yeah, the
And
next
beefing with
possession actually comes up in Rebels.
Like, I've only read the Wikipedia entries of, like, the history of how this species and their planet have been portrayed. So it was just, like, a lot in a very short period of time. And then it was like, and then they were all ghosts, and they try to possess anybody who shows up to the planet. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So, like, this whole backfill on Darth Maul is the nuttiest thing that's ever been done. I don't know if there's ever actually been, like, a superhero that they've, or, like, a villain that they've really gone back and just done that.
Right.
And just backfilled like that. I don't know if that's ever happened, right?
Right.
Because they just reboot, right? And then
Right.
they start again. But I mean, it's like if Ted Kord woke up one morning and he was like, he had all of Jaime Reyes's details, right?
Right.
The whole time, aliens, the Reach, they're invading. You just didn't know for like 30 years. Actually, the Green Lanterns, sorry. It's the same energy as what Jeff Johns did to Green Lanterns.
Okay.
Actually, there's like 8 different corps. Actually, Parallax is a bug. Just all of that. Sorry, it's Jeff Johns' Green Lantern is what it is. Scope and scale really is. Fuck. Jesus Christ. So his own species...
Specifically,
Ahsoka, the Jedi. Is there anybody else we need to talk about that he's beef with before we get to Han Solo?
Palpatine.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Actually, those two, like, combined. Those two together, there's literally no Star Wars character that has ever existed that isn't like, fuck that guy specifically for something he did to me directly. Because you could argue all kinds of stuff for Palpatine. He's like the King Leopold, right? Of Star Wars, the Hitler or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Right.
But like, so indirectly, but like, this is a dude who's just like fucked people for fun.
Yeah.
And apparently that's like literal because you saw the last Star Wars movie. You know exactly what I'm talking about. She fucks. But like, yeah, of course those two beefs. It's like the two that, it's like those two people. It's like honestly, it's like a Scott Pilgrim thing, really, at the end of the day.
Right.
It really is just the fact of, like, Scott coming up to, what is the main villain's name again? The Jason Schwartzman character?
Gideon Graves.
It's literally like Scott and Gideon. because there's just such complete fucking assholes. And the only reason that like there's like a hero, like there's anything there is because like Scott was the hero, right? And there's like something going on there. But if you look at like what everybody who knows Scott says about Scott, what everybody who knows Gideon says about Gideon, it's Darth Maul and Palpatine.
Yeah.
They're like the two fuck these guys feuds. But like the Han Solo feud is amazing because it can't really go anywhere.
Right.
Again, they can do Solo too, and there can be a bit of a follow up. But like that's the weird thing about backfill and like telling different stories that take place at different times.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in Solo, the implication is that he runs the like crime network that Solo loses his girlfriend to, played
Right.
by Emilia Clarke of Daenerys Targaryen and Sarah Connor fame. And he has to leave her to that crew when he goes. So like Paul Bettany is like that character is like the main dude that's like, I'm controlling this girl that Han's gonna have this like patriarchal male rage fest with. And like really wildly, Michael K. Williams was supposed to play that role.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that because it's a little like white slavery. Do you know what I mean? It would have been like, you know, because like I love Michael K. Williams. Although like after that last episode of Lovecraft Country, there's just some things I've seen him done I don't want to see again.
Right.
But him as an actor, him as a person, brilliant. And like the idea of seeing him in Star Wars Owns, I just kind of wish he could have gotten like a Mace Windu type character and not that.
Right.
So hopefully like they'll find a way to bring Michael K. Williams into something else Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be like a cool Mace Windu type. I mean, like Mace Windu was extremely underwritten. Like he certainly got the same treatment that like, well, not the same treatment because nobody was ever like Sam Jackson's going to be the star, but he did kind of go out like a punk. But
Yeah.
so they could have done better by him, right? Like it's not exactly a John Boyega situation, but
Right.
they could have done better by him. But it was like, I hope that if Michael K. Williams makes it to Star Wars, it's going to be something cool that's like worth Michael K. Williams' time.
Right.
But it was Paul Bettany directly, but like, of course, you find out that it's like Darth Maul behind everything. Because like anybody who was watching the cartoons, who was watching Solo, and they say the red circle or whatever it's called, right? They're like
Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
You're fine.
they were like, "Fuck, Darth Maul." What? And then everybody else, 15 minutes later, the Green Mile.
Darth
Right.
Maul!
So this is the problem with like the missing scene in Empire Strikes Back. That like, you know, maybe I shouldn't say this because they have the like, because they did Leia
Right.
in Rogue One. They can do that now, and they did Grand Moff Tarkin. So maybe they will go back and do, and they'll be like, well, if George Lucas can remake the original trilogy and re-release it in the theaters, and we've got a pandemic on,
Right.
we're just going to remaster the original trilogy again, because if it's good enough for George Lucas, it's good enough for Disney. They'll just do what they did to Sleeping Beauty. So maybe, right? So maybe I might get this scene in Empire Strikes Back where, like, for whatever reason, well, because he's a criminal. He goes all over the place. He has a crime syndicate at this point. Like, Darth Maul shows up on Cloud City, and like, Boba Fett and Han Solo are both like, fuck this guy.
It's like, sure.
Because I don't know, there has to be some reason for Boba Fett to beef with Darth Maul, because Darth Maul has found a reason to beef with everyone. So that's why I'm saying it has to happen in The Mandalorian with Boba Fett, because it didn't happen there. Because the place that it should have happened, there should have been like this weird bullshit three-way fight between Boba Fett and Darth Maul and Han Solo. And the way that it works is you have two hyper-competent fighters and an asshole. Right? Because Harrison Ford never knows how to fight in movies. Like, Indiana Jones, same energy. Like, he shoots the guy with the swords, right?
Right.
It's the same deal as hand shot first. And, of course, George Lucas was involved in both. So that's why he always has that energy. But, like, you can just see him fucking up the fight for Boba Fett accidentally at every single fucking turn.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. But he also fucks up Darth Maul, because Darth Maul knows how to fight people who are good at fighting. He doesn't know how to fight an asshole. Right, so there's just this missing scene in
Right.
Empire Strikes Back that Solo created that we're all just going to resent for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that Darth Maul has a real beef with?
Not that I can think of off the top. Well, I mean, like the Ghost crew from like Rebels, he has beef with.
Yeah.
Specifically because he has like a weird force link with Ezra. So like
Kinky.
yeah, so well Ezra's like 15.
Maybe I should have Wikipedia'd him.
Sorry. But yeah,
Darth
so
Maul, like Kevin Spacey of Star Wars. There's the allegations, right? There's the allegations.
But yeah, so yeah, Ezra. So basically, Ezra's like a force-sensitive teenager being taught the ways of the Force. Kanan's his teacher, and then but he's worried that he follows the dark side. And
have you read a book called Harry Potter? Because there's like this kid who can like see into the mind of a bad guy, and his teacher's like, I don't want you to see into his mind.
Yes, a little of that, but mostly because I think Maul forced that connection, so.
Yeah. Whereas like in Harry Potter it was the result of a failed homicide attempt against a small child.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Maul has beef with the Ghost crew too. So, but that's mostly all of Maul's beefs across the Star Wars universe.
That's really expansive. I just really wish that there had been a scene in the last Star Wars movie. Tell me this happens, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't because their parentage went a different way. If like Rey let down her hair, and it was just like bump. I know that the females of that species don't have horns or hair.
Right.
So that was my initial joke. My first one was that she lets down her hair and that's why she had horns under it the whole time.
Right.
But the other one is that she just does a full like Sasha Velour. I don't know if it would be rose petals. I don't know what their version of that would be, but she just shakes her wig out. And everyone's like, oh, you've got alopecia? And she's like, no, I'm a... Right? And my mom is Han Solo's crush. Oh, that would make Reylo incest. Yes! No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. What am I talking about?
No.
It's
Kira's weird. Not related to Han.
Right. Because Han would have had to have been incestuously into her to...
Yeah.
Right, sorry, fuck. It'd still be weird, though.
Yeah. It would be a little weird.
Especially because, like, hey, he killed... Yeah, and then it just becomes that Simpsons thing where he just opens the door, everybody that's still alive with a beef with Maul just comes after Rey instead.
Yeah.
But that would have tied all this in a bow, but, like, so I'm ambivalent about it, because if they had done it, we would have to talk about the new trilogy.
Right.
Which is not worth doing. But because that didn't happen, we don't have to talk about those movies.
Right.
But that brings us to the end of Everybody Hates Darth Maul.